Hi everyone, this is Mithileshwar Thakur. I would like to talk about the SOP that the government is planning to have for FTA negotiations. This is indeed a welcome move. Reason being that India of late has been very actively engaging with plethora of countries to gain market access. And if my memory serves me right, I think we are in negotiation with at least 50 countries, which includes, of course, European Union. Now the point is that our experience with old FTAs have not been very comforting, and there were certain lessons to be derived. So taking a cue from the mistakes that has been done in the past, I think there was a need for SOP. Of course, every FTA is a unique FTA. Every country, partner country, will have a unique requirement and all of that. But the point that they're simultaneously negotiating with a whole lot of countries, there's a need for some kind of a SOP so that we do not end up, doing different things at different places. One such, like I would say, of course, that is a pre-negotiation stage, that we should be very careful about selecting the partner. The complementarity that we share with the countries that we are choosing to have FTA negotiations with, their duty structure, their appetite for our India-made goods, their capacity and capability to cater to our requirement, and the genuine and visible gains that we can have with that negotiation. So these things have to be kept in mind. My point is that negotiations must be India-centric, India-specific, and India advantage. We should be negotiating from a point of strength rather than from a point of a kind of a weakness. So that is something that needs to be borne in mind. Now, someone may ask, why suddenly India has taken an about turn, and after 11 years or so many FTAs, India is actively entering into and negotiations. The point is that India, all these mega agreements, like whether it is TPP or TTIP or RCEP, India has not been a part of any of these. So, not being part of these mega agreements had a risk of India actually being tossed out of the entire, this global economic, partnerships. So there was a need to enter into bilateral agreements with most of the important trading partners on a one-to-one basis for a deeper engagement. And that's why we find that suddenly India is engaging with a whole lot of countries and a very proactive way. And the point is, what should be our strategy? Our strategy should be India-specific. Our strategy should be India-centric. Our strategy should be India-first approach. And the need for SOP, of course, assumes greater significance because now we are entering into FTA with advanced countries. Like we had this India-Australia FTA. That was the first, developed country that we had an agreement with. Now we are, kind of negotiating with more difficult countries. Those in the European Union and all those advanced countries. And the agenda is now much wider and bigger and larger. Now we are not only, negotiating the tariff concession, whether it is goods or services or rules harmonization. A whole lot of topics we are discussing, the labor, environment, sustainability and whatnot. So there was a need to re-strategize and have a more nuanced strategy, what we should be doing. So my recommendation would be that in the future FTAs that India is engaging with, I think the priorities need to change. We should not be too much tariff centric, and our approach should be that we should prioritize non-tariff areas before tariff. Reason being very simple, because the kind of tariff that we have, Western world, the tariff rate could be 3 to 4%, as against ours, our average rate could be around 16% or so. So we end up losing more and gaining less. So I think we should look beyond tariff concession, because other areas could create the difficult areas, and that has a potential of putting extra compliance burden on Indian exporters, whether it's sustainability requirement or labor compliance requirement or social requirement. So I think we need to be very careful. We need to be very focused and strategic, and we need to be doing our homework very properly, because in most of the negotiations, I believe non-tariff barriers have not received the kind of importance that they deserve. So I believe that we should give greater importance to these areas. Now you see that ESG compliance has been an area of great concern. Now European Union has come out with many regulations that can create genuine problems for developing country like ours. You have CBAM, you have you deforestation agreement and all of that. Now the CBAM actually was, to begin with, is for certain specified sector. It was supposed to apply the carbon tax imposition from 1st January 2026, I believe. But then, in EU Green Deal has kind of preponed this requirement, because then you have that corporate sustainability reporting directive, which actually, asked the big, large public sector EU companies basically to report what you call scope 3 emissions, which comes from upstream company or downstream company. So if you invoke that, what actually happens is that any importers, any exporter to European Union, they are also required to observe the or comply the requirements of this Green Deal. So, and that has come into force from 1st January 2024. So I think we need to tighten our belt, but while negotiating FTA, I think we need to be very sure that unless we should try to extract some kind of a concession or the other for us. Because bear in mind that the entire Western world, the developed world, they developed during a time when they didn't have any decarbonization compliance requirement, when they didn't have any Green Deal requirement, where they didn't have any such pressure. And now they want the developing countries to basically observe all of that, and that could end up, if not stunting our growth, definitely decelerating our growth. So I believe we need to be very aggressive in our approach while negotiating these, so that the undue compliance burden in exports do not come. Thank you.